Welcome everybody to Dell's Barbershop, the place where you can come as you are and leave fresher than you arrived. Today's video is going to be a review of the season 5 episodes of The Boys, which is the final season. And there's a lot of questions that I have going into the final episode next week. They only filmed 8 episodes. And this show started out on fire. Season 1, fire. Season 2, fire. Season 3, 4 was a little bit shaky, but had its moments. Season 5 has just fallen flat. And we have an article here stating that episode 7 was the lowest rated episode in the series' history. And this is coming off of the past couple weeks news of the prequel spin-off, and also the canceling of Gen V, which kind of upset a lot of people, even some of the cast members. So I made a list of a few questions going into episode 8. We're gonna come back to this article, but I have some questions. Number one, Ryan's storyline. Like, what do we get of that? How do you close that out? Are we getting a side spin-off of Ryan? Because they hyped him up to be possibly the guy that takes down his father. And early on in the season, he got washed. They set him out on a dummy mission and he got washed, and we haven't seen him since. So how do you close that out on episode 8? My next question is, what do you do with Stan Edgar now? We saw in episode 6 that they found the V1, and the whole point of bringing Stan Edgar back to Vought Tower was to have him find V1. Now that V1 has been found, what is his purpose? What does he serve? Do we have any more purpose for his bunker, or no? Like, what do we get from that? Sister Sage's story. Speaking of bunkers, she had a plan where when Homelander takes over the world, she was going to have a bunker of her own. So is that something that happens to her now, where she takes Stan's bunker, or does she live? Does she die? It's a real big question, because on episode 7, we do lose a pivotal character. I'm not going to say who. This video is assuming that you've seen episode 7. But you know who passed away in that episode, and now Sage has a bigger role going into episode 8. Or they may just cut ties with the character early on. I could see something where she's like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and leaves. Does she find redemption, or does she just get a random death? My next question is, will Starlight and Huey last? I saw a video where they were explaining that Starlight and Huey, they don't spend much quality time with each other. And I believe there was one moment within this season that they were sitting on the hood of a car and looking at clouds, and I think that's the only non-intimate moment that they had, in terms of when they're with each other, they're not having just sex, like they're actually bonding. Do they last? Do they not last? Because I know in the comics they live a life away together from the United States. I believe they move away. So we'll see what happens with that. Next up, does Ashley survive? We saw the president get clapped. The president also gets clapped in the comics. So what's going on with Ashley? Because she has slowly moved up the ranks. Because remember, she started out as an assistant in the show. Then she ended up taking Madeline Stillwell's position. And then from Madeline Stillwell's position, she was asked by A-Train, hey, let's get out of here. They're going to kill us. She stayed. Somehow got into politics, became the VP, and then now she's the president. But we know she's just a puppet head president, because, Homelander's pulling all the strings. Next up, we have, what is Old Father's endgame? We saw that he grifted his way into Homelander's good graces, which was the demise of Firecracker. I did find that to be a funny turnout for Firecracker, as this grifter as well, religious grifter, and the person that she turned to as a god lastly ended up turning on her, because if you remember, when she was walking into her room, she had that Jesus action figure. She threw it away because she knew that this whole Homelander is God foolishness wasn't the right thing. And then she finally gave up Jesus and made Homelander her true God, and just for him to kill her. Now, what is it with O-Father? And I have a problem with this, because this plan was cool, make Homelander quote unquote God, but why is it taking so long for it to flesh out? Because we saw early on O-Father was in cahoots with trying to get into Homelander's good graces and trying to get him breast milk, get him the Homelander Bible, try to rename his church. He could be doing this just to make money for his church. I think that's where he's trying to go with it. But the way that he was able to oust Firecracker, I thought it would have been a quicker move instead of this slow burn. And we should have had Homelander go on a rampage from at least episode 5 and onward. Like, this ball should have been rolling. And I get it. Some people will say that the virus, he didn't want to leave the tower because of Butcher's virus. But even then, I mean, it just shouldn't have happened that way, because of how he was able to brainwash people from season 4 going forward of being hardcore Homelander fans. I don't see how they shouldn't have been able to take over the world. But yet again, the virus is still out there. We also have a situation of the Deep, and he meeting up with one of his fish friends, and they tell him, hey, look, you come in the water, you're dead meat. And all of the fish hate the Deep. We saw that he let a man die out in the water because he knew that if he went into the water to help the guy that was drowning, there's a possibility fish would have gotten to him and, ripped him to pieces. What happens to the Deep? And I really hope, I just know there's going to be a curveball at the end. There's going to be a twist. The Deep possibly has a baby face moment. Shout out to the wrestling guys and girls. Will he have his babyface redemption moment, or will he, face a sore loser end? As you saw in episode 7, the 7 itself, no pun intended, the 7 was disbanded by Homelander, because in actuality there haven't been 7 members of the 7 since a while now, and they've been trying to put replacement pieces in, and they've just been dying and dropping like flies left and right. So what happens to the Deep? In Gen V, they canceled the show after 2 seasons, and they build up this character Marie Moreau as this antithesis to Homelander. What was her purpose? What purpose will she serve? Because they build her up to be this person that can beat Homelander. And they did the same thing for Ryan as well. And in the comics, Homelander had a clone as Black Noir. And Black Noir was the red button you push when Homelander he doesn't fall in line. And when he doesn't fall in line, Black Noir was the one that was supposed to keep him in check. And that's what happened in the comics. But here, Black Noir dies not 1 but 2 times. The first guy died from Homelander ripping his guts out. The second Black Noir dies because of the Deep. So we know that there's not a Homelander clone. We have the Ryan situation where we think Ryan is supposed to be that Homelander clone type thing, but he got washed early on in the season. Now Marie Moreau, where do we go from here? She did appear in episode 7. Will she appear in episode 8? We do not know. But it would just be a cluster of just a whole bunch of stuff packed into an episode. Mind you, leaks came out that episode 8 is going to have a runtime of 1 hour and 5 minutes. So on my list of things that need to be wrapped up, we are on part 8. And these are all 8 different storylines that are going on. Now, we move on to part 9 of my list, Mother's Milk. what happens to him and his family? What is the blowback after this? And it's not only just Mother's Milk's family. What will the world be like post Homelander? Because we know Homelander meets his demise within the Boys' comic books. What happens to him in the show? Because we need to find out, are they going to give Kimiko that ability that Soldier Boy had to take the V out of his bloodstream? Will that happen? Or will we get a gloom and doom ending where, you know, the good guys don't win and we see a possibility of just a world that is just now run by Homelander? I really question where they're going with the show, how they plan to close it out, because you can tell when a show is going on the back end of the season and storylines are about to wrap up. Like, this shouldn't be happening. This show started out on fire, like I earlier said. It should be getting ready to wind down, and it's not. There's a lot of holes left in this story that they're trying to tell, and I don't see how you figure this all out within an hour and 5 minutes without it being all clustered and jumbled up together. Like, if they would have made an episode 8 and 9, or even a part 1 and a part 2 or a part 3, just to keep it going just for a little bit to just close out these storylines, then sure, but I don't see it happening. And I guess it has that Game of Thrones effect. You start out great, then you just don't know how to close out. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I fear the same thing can happen to Invincible. And I was reading something the other day where it said Invincible has already gone through about 60 or 70% of the original content from the comic book. So how do you slow this train down and end it and land the ending without it being, you know, foolishness? Unfortunately, this IP here, The Boys, the show is just, I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe, get in the comment section. Let's see what they do. Tell me your theories. Tell me how you think they're going to end out this show, because what do we do from here? And as a matter of fact, let's check out when Lot Rising is coming out. So they plan on releasing this in 2027. And we know that Soldier Boy is going to be in it. It's a prequel, so the actions of what happened to Soldier Boy in episode 7 aren't going to necessarily matter, but I guess this prequel series will try to keep the attention back on the boys and keep it there. But you had something special with Gen V. I know some people weren't happy with how that second season ended, but that would have been a good way to fix your wrongs of season 2 of Gen V with season 3. But now we get Jensen Ackles, and I believe what they're doing with Jensen Ackles is they believe that he will bring the draw power to this prequel, and we'll see what happens. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.